So now that I have that built, I need to create the coils that go with my project. So I'm gonna make a line here. So I need to make some coils for the legs. So I like to take some of my clay here. I'm probably gonna cut this in half. So I'm gonna save like half of it for the head and then half of it for the legs, right? And since this is a pretty big piece, I'm gonna cut it in half again so that I have like two longer pieces like this. Okay, so I'm gonna use even amounts for the legs and the arms or whatever. So I'm gonna take and I'm just gonna compress this into a large coil like this, okay? And I can do the same thing for the other one. So I'm just using my hands to kind of squish it into a large coil. And then once I have it squished into the large coil, then I can start rolling it, right? So if I roll it forward like this, I want you to notice that I'm rolling it one direction. If I sat here and went back and forth, what actually happens is I'm rolling the same part of my coil the whole time and it starts to flatten my coil. So I want to roll it one way. I pick it up, bring it back, roll it. I'm adding a little bit of pressure. And what that does is that starts to thin the coil a little bit. So it forces the coil to grow out. Now we want to be careful that we leave our legs a little bit thicker if we are planning to put them underneath our pot. So my recommendation is to go about the width of your thumb, no bigger, as we are starting to create this. So I think that's a pretty good coil, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, one thing I like to do, I like to cut off the ends because that's usually where I have some unevenness in my coils. And then I also like to hold my pinch pot up next to it and kind of see. Now, as we are creating this, we don't want our legs to be super long, or sometimes it can be hard to support the project. So we don't want it to be too large where it tips over on us or is uneven. So I've kind of tested this out and I felt like this was a pretty good length for my pinch pot. So I'm gonna do something similar with this. It's always better to go too long. So if I went a little bit too long, I could always chop a little extra off. I think this is probably gonna be a pretty good length right here. And then I'm gonna take and place these right next to it up here. So I've got 4 legs here. And then I like to take time to kind of smooth them before I attach them. Now we have to decide, where are we going to place the legs? Are we going to, and I'm just going to grab a little extra clay here. So for example, if this were our creature, we could have it on its back. So we could put the head here and we could have like the arms and legs sticking up in the air. So for example, if I was making a candy dish, that's kind of what I'm doing for the hippo. I've got like the arms and legs attached up here. Or if we wanted to, we could attach them underneath, or we could even have it so like if we wanted it more like an open bowl, we could have the legs here and have some legs kind of attaching, kind of like in a dog, how sometimes a dog might sit, or have the arms kind of like this. So you can position this in different ways. I'm going, like I said, I'm going with a planter, so I'm gonna put the legs right underneath it. So the first thing I like to do is kind of place them and make sure I like the position before I attach them. Okay, and I like that placement. So now I'm going to take my toothpick and I am going to go ahead and just draw a little line around the edge so I know where these are attaching. Now, something you might remember from the other day is that we need to score and slip whenever we attach something to our project. So I'm going to just take and do a little bit of scoring right along that edge. So this creates the rough surface to help it stick together. And then I'm gonna take just a little bit of water on my finger and apply it to my clay. My clay is really fresh, so this is what we're using to create slip. Sometimes I have slip in a container, but for social distancing purposes, we're just using a little bit of water. And then I press it into place, and then I do that with the next leg. So the other thing you can do when you attach things, you can also blend along the legs. So sometimes I will take my toothpick or my needle tool. Oops, we want to be careful with those connection points, or sometimes I'll just even use my finger and blend right along there to kind of smooth. When we smooth like this, it can help reinforce. Or you can even take like a little bit of clay, like a little itty bitty coil. So if you're having trouble getting your legs to stay on, like this one here, I could take a little bitty coil here and use it to help kind of blend in with the leg to help attach it into place. Okay, so when I flip this over, notice how it's able to stand. I kind of check the position, make sure I'm happy with it, okay? And then now I can go ahead and put it away for the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it back over, okay? Just like this. Now, if you didn't get them all attached, you could also set the legs just off to the side on your cardboard. And then you're going to grab your storage bag. So this was going to be like the striped bag or a big clear plastic bag. So you are going to take your project on its cardboard, okay? You're going to very carefully send it all the way to the back corner here. And you're going to carefully tuck this half underneath, and then again wrap this underneath so that your project is sitting on the opening of the bag, and the weight of that's helping to close the bag so you're not getting air to it. And then this will go in your art locker. You're going to take any other remaining pieces of clay that you've been working with today, and you're going to wedge those together. So we just take and kind of hit it against the surface of the table on our mat. We are going to take and put this back into our baggie that we got our clay from, along with any other chunks of clay that we might have had. And then we're going to zip that up nice and tight. We are going to take our big Ziploc bag, and in our big Ziploc bag, we're going to put our knife, our fork, our skewer, our toothpick. So we're gonna take a moment and we're going to squeeze out our sponge and our water here, kind of rinse it, and get all that water out if we can help it. We're gonna put our sponge in here, and then we're going to go dump this out in the bucket. And then in our art locker, we are going to place the following items. We're gonna put our paper first. We're going to put our clay tools, our baggie of extra clay, and then of course, we're also going to put our project and our empty water tub. So that would all go into your art locker, so you have it to work with tomorrow. So one of the things that I wanted to mention as well is if you need to make something with a slab. So for example, a fin, a wing, something like that, you're going to cut more of like a narrow chunk of clay for this. You're going to pull your fingers back and you're going to use the flat part of your hand, and you're going to add some pressure to it. And then you're going to flip it like a pancake and add pressure to the other side. And then you're going to flip it again. And you're going to do this until you have a nice thin layer of clay. Now you don't want to go so thin that it's going to be easy to break. And then what I would do is draw out what you need. So for example, if I was making a wing this way, I would take and use my skewer or my toothpick and draw like the duck wing first that I would like. Kind of hold it up to the side of my bowl here, and then when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to take my skewer and cut along the edge here. Okay, and I can see that's a pretty good wing. Now I do feel like it's maybe a little too thick, so I'm just going to add a little bit of pressure here to make that a little bit thinner. Same thing with this piece. Just add a little more pressure. So the good thing is if you err on the side of having too much clay, you can always kind of press it down. And then now if I look, that looks like a better wing, but it's maybe too big. So I can always just take and trim down the extra now. And again, I can kind of hold it up to the side. Okay, I like the look of that for my wing here. So I can take this now that I'm happy with it, and I can place it on this other side here. And I'm gonna flip the direction. I think it'll fit better this way. And then I can just take and retrace it first. Okay, so now I can score and slip my wings here onto the side of my creature. So I can just take and do some scoring. Do some scoring on this one. And again, look at the sides here, figure out where I want to attach it. And then I'm going to go straight to the opposite side, do the same thing. And then I'm going to take a little bit of slip or water to create slip with my wing here. And I'm going to take and press that on there into place. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So there are my wings for my duck. And then I could also add some feet. So I could take this last little bit of clay here, and I could also cut out some like webbed feet. And I can press those into place. I'm going to get quite a bit of it underneath. So notice how I've got some overlap. That's going to help hold those in place. And I can even kind of flatten those down a little bit right there where it connects. So that way it's not uneven when it sits. So there would be the start of my duck that I could have done for day one.